Most people wait for the right moment to act, but winners, they force the moment. You see, consistency isn't about feeling ready, it's about becoming ready through action. Why? Because without consistency, talent dies, dreams fade, and progress resets. Your mind must learn that you move first, not your mood, not motivation. How? By showing up no matter what. Rain or shine, tired or energized. That's how you break limits. That's how you win. Force it, repeat it, and own your results. In a few moments, I'll teach you how to force yourself to be consistent every day, without excuses, without quitting. You will never master anything until you repeat it daily. You may believe talent alone will carry you, but talent without discipline becomes a curse. Many people begin strong, eager, ambitious, full of energy, but few repeat with purpose. Few return to the same task tomorrow and again the next day. Mastery is not born in the first hour. It is sculpted in the thousandth. People who succeed are not always the most intelligent. They are simply the ones who keep showing up. They don't wait for motivation. They rely on habit. They trust repetition like a seed trusts water. And over time, it grows slowly, silently, until it bursts through the ground. So ask yourself, what do you do daily without fail? Is it sharpening you or softening you? You say you want to grow, to lead, to win, but will you return to your craft tomorrow when no one claps for you? Will you come back the day after when your efforts seem invisible? Picture this. You strike a stone with a hammer once, twice, 100 times, nothing. Then, on the 101st hit, it breaks. But the first 100 mattered just as much. What could happen in your life if you forced yourself to keep hitting the stone? The pain of discipline is less than the pain of regret. You wake up and feel tired, so you skip your task. You say you'll try again tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes a week, then a year, and one day you look back, wondering why your life looks the same. The truth is simple. What you ignore today will hurt you tomorrow. Discipline is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the fire that burns the laziness out of you. The sooner you feel that fire, the sooner you rise from it, reborn into strength. People complain that discipline is hard, but regret is harder. Regret whispers in your ear when you're alone. It shows up in missed chances, in weaker bodies, in unfulfilled dreams. It is the interest you pay for every excuse you've made. But you can escape regret. You do it by choosing short-term discomfort for long-term power. You trade the pleasure of now for the legacy of later. So which fire will you walk through? The one that builds you or the one that burns your future? Picture this. One person trains daily and becomes strong. Another rests and waits and weakens. 10 years pass. Which person do you want to be? Every decision you make today adds up. What kind of tomorrow are you buying? You don't need more time. You need more focus. You say you don't have time, but you do. Everyone does. 24 hours, no more, no less. Time is not the problem. The real issue is your focus. You are pulled in every direction, your energy scattered, your attention fractured. You confuse motion with progress. You're busy but not effective. You work but don't advance. Time slips through when you're not watching. You don't need more hours. You need intention, direction, clarity. Because when attention is lost, time becomes your enemy. But when attention is mastered, time becomes your tool. Look closely at your day. Look at the tasks left half done, the plans half built. Notice how your mind jumps from one thing to the next. You start, stop, and switch. You're not lazy, you're divided. Your potential leaks through distraction. You don't need another app or planner. You need to seal the holes in your focus. A scattered man builds nothing lasting. More time will not save you. A better schedule will not transform you. Only a better standard will. When you choose what not to do, that's when you reclaim your day. Most people don't lack drive. They lack clarity. They're stuck in a fog, chasing everything, catching nothing. But the man who cuts away the noise, he moves. Not faster, but truer. Direction gives speed its power. Without it, speed just leads you in circles. There's a strange transformation that happens when you focus. Not halfway, not occasionally, fully. You become lighter, sharper, more exact. You begin to build instead of scramble. When your attention is singular, your progress multiplies. Time stretches. 1 hour of deep work becomes worth 10 hours of distraction. This is how real power is built, not by doing more, but by doing what matters, deeply and without interruption. Successful people aren't superhuman. They don't have more hours. They simply guard their focus like treasure. They wake up and know what must be done, and they do it. No debate, no delay. They've made their priorities non-negotiable. They understand that every yes to distraction is a no to greatness. So they cut, simplify, and execute. This is discipline. This is clarity, and clarity is power. Now picture this. You decide today to commit. You silence the noise, you drop the distractions, you lock in on one goal and stay there, not forever, just 7 days. One focused week. What could change? Everything. Your confidence, your progress, your rhythm. You'd look back and wonder why you ever lived in fragments, because all along greatness wasn't waiting for more time, it was waiting for you to choose. You don't need more hours. You need a line in the sand, a moment where you stop being busy and start being deliberate. Your energy is limited. Treat it like gold. Give it only to what grows you. Ask yourself, what am I willing to give up to go all in? Because the strongest aren't those with more time. They're the ones who use every minute like it matters. Because it does. Your identity is written by what you do repeatedly. You are not what you say. You are not your intentions, dreams, or declarations. You are what you do. Not once, not twice, but what you do daily. Every repeated act writes your identity in ink. You become the result of your habits, your patterns, your unseen repetitions. A single decision might start a journey, but it is the discipline to continue that defines who you are becoming. Talk is smoke. Action is the fire. What are you truly building? Most people wait for inspiration. They think greatness begins with feeling ready. But waiting for motivation is a trap. It fades. It lies. What you need is repetition. Start before you're ready. Do it again and again, until doubt dies and behavior takes its place. When something is done enough, it becomes natural. The secret isn't to feel inspired. The secret is to keep showing up even when you don't. Ask yourself, are you living your identity or just claiming it? You call yourself a writer, but do you write daily? You call yourself disciplined, but are your routines reflecting that? You can say anything to others, but not to the mirror. The mirror reflects behavior, not intent and consistency. It never lies. It shines a brutal light on who you really are, not once, but every single day. Character is not formed in declarations. It is formed in repetition. If you behave like a leader, over time you will become one. If you behave like a quitter, even just in thought, you become that too. Life isn't fooled by words. It mirrors your dominant patterns. Your choices form grooves in your mind and soul, and those grooves determine your destiny. What are you practicing right now, even unknowingly? Are you rehearsing strength or avoidance? Are you building resilience or excuses? Every action is a seed. Every habit is a path. You must step back and examine what you are rehearsing, because that is who you will become. Every choice counts. Every repetition writes a line in the script of your future. Picture this. You see someone walk into a room. Their posture is upright. Their eyes are calm. Their presence commands respect. You think they were born like that, but you're wrong. They trained it. They chose that walk, those words, that self-control every single day. You can do the same, but it requires daily integrity. Becoming isn't a moment. It's a series of repetitions, done when no one is watching. Excitement doesn't build character. Emotion doesn't last. The real shaping happens in the quiet hours, when you don't feel like doing it but do it anyway. That's where strength is built. That's where discipline is born. So ask yourself honestly, are your daily choices making you proud? Because if not, they're shaping someone you won't recognize or respect. Choose carefully. You are what you repeat. The power is in showing up, especially when you don't feel like it. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy, when your bed feels like the safest place on earth, and every part of you whispers, just rest, just today. There will be days when motivation is nowhere to be found, when your energy is low and your goals feel distant. But these aren't the days to give in. They're the days that count the most, because anyone can move when it's easy. The real battle is won when it's not. True greatness is not built on perfect days. It is built on difficult decisions. When you act despite how you feel, when you show up tired, uncertain, or uninspired, that's when something powerful is born. That's the difference between the man who dreams of change and the man who creates it. Most people move when they feel like it, but champions move regardless. Consistency isn't about being flawless. It's about being present, one day at a time, even on bad days, even on the days when everything inside you says, skip it. That's where transformation lives. If you only act when you're inspired, you'll be inconsistent. But if you commit to showing up no matter how imperfectly, you build an identity that doesn't break under pressure. You don't need to be extraordinary. You just need to be willing. Willing to move without waiting. Willing to push without perfect conditions. Because if you wait for the mood, you'll wait forever. If you wait for motivation, you'll stay stuck. But when you make the decision, deep, unshakable, that nothing will stop you, you stop negotiating with your lesser self. That's when your life begins to shift. Progress isn't an idea, it's not a feeling, it's an action. You build momentum not by wishing, not by reading motivational quotes, not by planning every detail, but by doing. A small action taken in low energy is still infinitely more powerful than a perfect plan never acted on. Discipline doesn't demand that you feel strong, it only asks that you move one step at a time. Now picture this, a person trains when their legs are sore, when their muscles scream. They read when their eyes are heavy. They prepare their future while others sleep. They don't win every battle, but they're present for every fight. And that presence, day after day, is how true strength is built. Not flashy, not loud, just quietly, relentlessly consistent. The real test is in the shadows, when no one's watching, when applause is gone. Will you keep moving then, or will you fold? You don't rise by being inspired once. You rise by not quitting. You fall down, sure, but you don't stay there. You keep showing up. And every time you do, even with shaky hands and tired eyes, you get stronger. So ask yourself, honestly, will you act when the fire's gone? Will you keep your promise when it's hard? Or will you keep resetting the clock, starting over, building and breaking, endlessly stuck in a loop? Because success belongs to the ones who stay, who endure, who rise even when nothing around them encourages it. And that's the truth no one wants to admit. The real secret, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even inspiration, it's this: keep showing up, no matter what. That's how everything changes. That's how you change. You are always training for something, whether you know it or not. Every single day you are practicing something. Whether or not you're aware, your behavior is reinforcing habits, brick by brick, step by step. Every thought you entertain, every word you speak, every action you take, these are not isolated moments. They are repetitions, and repetition shapes identity. So ask yourself honestly, what are you rehearsing? Because your life is being built by what you repeat, not by what you wish. Many people unknowingly train laziness. They choose comfort, avoid challenge, and dismiss effort. They say, I'll do it later, again and again, until it becomes their way of life. They didn't wake up wanting to be weak, but they repeated the patterns long enough to make weakness their default. Repetition doesn't care what you intend, it only multiplies what you do. And over time, avoidance becomes your training ground. Others, however, train for strength on purpose. They rise early, even when tired. They endure setbacks without collapsing. They delay gratification, knowing growth is found in discomfort. They don't wait to feel ready, they train to be ready. And slowly that strength becomes automatic. Discipline becomes natural, because the more you practice the right thing, the more it becomes who you are, not just what you do. Excellence isn't a lightning bolt. It doesn't strike in a moment. It is built quietly, daily, through small acts done with care. That extra rep, that disciplined choice, that small decision to try again. People who become exceptional treat ordinary moments like they matter, because they do. They know every repetition is a vote, cast for the person they want to be. Think about the farmer. He does not expect harvest the day he plants the seed. He tills the soil, waters the ground, and waits. For weeks, sometimes months, nothing seems to happen, but underneath, growth is taking root. And when the season is right, the crops rise. Not suddenly, but inevitably. Because he trained the field with patience and care. You are no different. Your mind is the soil, your habits are the seed. What you repeat consistently is what you will eventually become. So look at your routines, your thoughts, your reactions. Are they leading you toward strength, toward discipline, or are they reinforcing distraction, chaos, or delay? Every habit you keep is either sharpening you or dulling you. Every moment is a choice. Every choice is a stroke on the canvas of your life. And over time, a picture emerges. Are you painting with purpose or with passivity? Are you crafting a masterpiece of strength and clarity, or sketching loops of stagnation and doubt? You don't rise by luck. You rise by design. One brushstroke, one act, repeated with intention. The truth is simple. You are always training, whether you mean to or not. The only question is, what are you training for? You cannot escape repetition. So use it, choose it, let your actions, even the small ones, speak on your behalf. Train for the life you want. Practice being the person you admire, because eventually practice becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. No one is coming to save you. That's your advantage. It's easy to wait. to hold out hope that someone will appear with the solution, the spark, the support you feel you need. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe a partner, maybe just a lucky break. But if you want truth, here it is. No one is coming. And strangely, that's not a tragedy. That's the beginning of your strength. Because when you stop waiting, you start becoming. You stop reaching outward and start reaching inward. And that's where transformation lives. The strongest people you know, the ones who rise against odds, who seem unshakable, didn't wait for rescue. They stepped forward early. They didn't get clarity and then act. They acted and found clarity in motion. They didn't blame their past or their circumstances. They built. They fought. They took responsibility not because they had to, but because they chose to. And that's where power is born. Maybe life didn't hand you the best cards. Maybe you faced setbacks, unfirm moments, or even heartbreak. But you still hold those cards. And how you play them is entirely yours. Many waste time wishing for a new hand, better parents, more resources, fewer problems. But winners don't wait for different cards. They master the ones they're dealt. And in mastering, they find freedom. When you finally stop waiting for someone to come fix things, everything changes. Your energy shifts. Your choices become intentional. You stop bleeding hours into hope and start pouring them into effort. Your mind sharpens. You move with clarity, with direction, and with purpose. Because it's no longer about being saved. It's about taking the lead in your own life. Now picture this clearly. Two people. One is waiting for the perfect moment, for motivation, for a sign, for support. The other takes what they have and starts, even small. 1 year passes. One person is still hoping, still dreaming. The other has momentum. They've grown stronger, wiser, more capable, not because they had more, but because they did more with less. The myth is that you need others to believe in you first, but the truth is you need to believe in effort. You need to believe that even when it's hard, action still works, that even if no one cheers, progress still happens, that success doesn't require luck, it requires work. And work is always within reach, even when resources aren't. So pause and ask yourself, are you actually moving forward or just standing still and calling it waiting? Are you truly building or just hoping? Because waiting feels deceptively active, but unless it's backed by preparation or action, it's just a delay, dressed up as a plan. Hope is good, but hope without action is a prison. And once more, no one is coming. Let that sink in, not to scare you, but to set you free. Because if no one is coming, then nothing is stopping you. You don't need permission, you don't need applause, you don't need perfect timing. You need to begin. That's where your story changes, not in rescue, but in responsibility. There's power in realizing you're it. You are the rescuer you've been waiting for. You are the backup. You are the support system. And that doesn't mean it's all on you forever, but it starts with you. That first decision, that first action, that refusal to wait one more day to begin living with intention. When you step into that truth, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop wondering why others aren't helping. You stop blaming. You start building. Brick by brick, day by day, weakness turns to strength, confusion to clarity, all because you finally decided, I'm done waiting. This isn't a moment of despair. It's a moment of birth, of identity, of direction. Because when you realize no one is coming, you come alive. And when you show up fully, the world begins to move, one step at a time, one act at a time. Now it's your turn. The first step is rarely perfect, but always necessary. You want the map before the journey. You want every step marked, every outcome promised. You crave certainty, security that you won't fail, won't stumble, won't look foolish. But life doesn't hand out guarantees. It offers something far more real, opportunity disguised as effort. Waiting to feel ready is a trap that keeps you still while time races ahead. The moment you're waiting for isn't coming, but the one you can create is already here. Most people waste years waiting for clarity, for courage, for conditions to align. But the perfect moment doesn't arrive, it's built through movement. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who plan the most, they're the ones who started. Progress is never born out of stillness, it's born out of motion. The only thing you need to begin is the decision to begin, imperfectly but powerfully. The first version will be clumsy. The first effort may not look like much, but perfection isn't the goal, progress is. You don't learn by thinking, you learn by doing. No writer creates a masterpiece in the first draft. No builder lays bricks with flawless symmetry from the start. But the difference between those who grow and those who don't is this. One group moves, the other waits. You don't need to know everything. You don't need a polished plan. What you need is the courage to begin when it's messy, when it's uncertain, when your hands still tremble, because the path reveals itself after you take the first step. Improvement comes through experience. Clarity is born from motion. Greatness doesn't start, it sharpens with effort. Picture a sculptor facing a block of stone. It's rough, shapeless, nothing about it screams masterpiece. But he doesn't wait for the stone to magically reveal its form. He picks up his chisel and starts. Slowly, with every strike, he removes what doesn't belong. With patience and vision, he brings beauty out of chaos, not because it looked right at the start, but because he was willing to begin. The same is true for you. You are the sculptor of your future, but if you don't pick up the tools, your mind, your body, your time, it remains a shapeless possibility. No one else can carve it for you. No amount of planning replaces action. At some point, you must put down the blueprint and build. The only way forward is through. So ask yourself, what have you delayed in the name of readiness? What dream is stuck behind a wall of preparation? How many goals have you locked away because you told yourself it wasn't the right time? The truth is, the right time is a myth. You make it right by starting anyway. If you never start, you'll never grow. Failure isn't falling, it's standing still. It's watching another month, another year, another life chapter pass by while you plan and wait. But every small step you take, even uncertainly, creates momentum. That momentum becomes belief, and belief becomes mastery. You want progress? Stop waiting, stop perfecting, stop rehearsing your dream and begin living it. Let the first attempt be ugly, let it be awkward, but let it exist. Because from that rough beginning, everything else becomes possible. A start, however small, is worth more than a perfect plan that never touches the ground. Start, then adjust. That's how real builders think. They don't ask, is it ready? They ask, what can I build with what I have now? They move, they test, they fail forward. And every adjustment makes them sharper, faster, better. This is how success is born, not from readiness, but from willingness. You will never be fully ready, and you don't need to be. What you need is trust in your ability to learn, to adapt, to grow as you go. Progress rewards action, not hesitation. The road will rise to meet you, but only if you walk it. So walk it. Begin today. Begin messy, but begin. You build trust with yourself through daily proof confidence. Doesn't come from compliments, attention, or applause. It's not given, it's earned. And the way you earn it is simple, by keeping your own word. Every time you follow through on a promise you made to yourself, you build a small brick of trust. Not trust from the outside world, but something far more powerful. Trust in yourself. And when you trust yourself, you move through life with quiet certainty that can't be shaken by anyone. So many people feel unsure, lost, or unmotivated, not because they're weak, but because they've broken their own word too many times. They've said, I'll start tomorrow, and didn't. They've said, this time I'll stay consistent, and quit. Eventually, your mind stops believing you, you stop taking your own voice seriously, and without that inner trust, motivation becomes noise that fades fast. But here's the good news. You can rebuild that trust, not in one day, not with one massive act, but slowly, daily, by doing the exact things you said you'd do. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to make it dramatic. You just need to be honest and consistent. This is how the foundation of self-confidence is laid, not by seeking outside validation, but by becoming someone whose own word actually means something. Think about this. You tell yourself you'll wake up early tomorrow and train. Then you do. Maybe you're tired. Maybe it's not a perfect session, but you showed up. That act alone, small, quiet, and visible to others, creates a shift. You start walking differently. You speak with a bit more certainty. Why? Because your actions finally match your intent. You're no longer at war with yourself. Each act of consistency is like honoring a contract. You promised and you delivered. No cheering crowd, no big announcement, just follow through. And that's how real strength is built. Not the kind that shows off, but the kind that holds steady even when no one is watching. Strength that lasts. So ask yourself, what are the promises you keep making? And which ones are you actually keeping? Are your words just noise, or are they instructions you follow? If your own voice doesn't carry weight in your life, nothing else will. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about respecting yourself enough to do what you said. You don't need others to believe in you. You need you to believe. That kind of belief isn't magic. It's built one step at a time, in silence, through action. Every time you show up, whether the task is boring, painful, or unrewarded, you tell yourself, I can count on me. and that message rewires your identity. Confidence doesn't bloom from comfort. It comes from effort, from discipline, from walking through resistance again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one notices, especially then, because those are the moments that build a man who trusts himself. And that kind of man doesn't need to shout. His actions speak loud enough. The opposite is also true. Each time you break a promise to yourself, something inside you weakens. The mind remembers. The next time you set a goal, your subconscious whispers, "We've been here before. You'll quit again." And that whisper is enough to kill momentum before it begins. That's why your word to yourself must be sacred. It's not about grand gestures. It's about following through on the small ones. Saying you'll write for 10 minutes and doing it. Promising you'll stretch and showing up. These are not trivial acts. They're the seeds of a trustworthy self. A man who can't trust his own intentions is always at the mercy of doubt. But a man who delivers on what he declares, that man is unstoppable. Don't wait to feel confident. Don't wait to be motivated. Wait for nothing. Just do what you said. Do it when it's boring. Do it when you don't feel like it. Do it when the results are slow. Because every time you act in alignment with your own words, you rise. You build. You shift your identity from the inside out. Confidence, real confidence, isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's quiet. It's built in the dark, in the mornings no one sees, in the repetitions no one applauds. It's built every time you show up for yourself, every time you honor the smallest promise. That is how you become solid. That is how you walk into the world undeniable. So today, return to the promises, the small ones, the ones you've made and buried under. Choose one, keep it. Then tomorrow, keep it again. No drama, no perfection, just consistency. Because when your word becomes law in your life, confidence stops being a feeling and becomes your foundation. Consistency makes you dangerous because it makes you predictable to yourself. There is a quiet kind of power that lives in predictability, not in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. When you know, deep in your bones, that you will show up no matter how tired, unmotivated, or distracted you feel, you become something rare, inevitable. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the fastest. Your edge is that you always appear. You always move. You always follow through. Most people run on mood. They act when they feel good. They retreat when things get hard. Their actions depend on circumstance, not commitment, but not you. If you make the shift from mood to principle, everything changes. You're no longer governed by the ups and downs. You don't wait to feel right. You decide what's right, and you follow through. That's what makes you powerful. That's what makes you dangerous in the best way. You cannot control the storms of life. You can't control how others act, how they treat you, or what obstacles appear on your path. But you can control one thing, your presence. You can control whether or not you show up, whether or not you stay consistent, whether or not you finish what you start. In a world built on uncertainty, your steadiness becomes your superpower. And here's the secret. The longer you show up, the stronger you become. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to build a history of follow-through. Others will notice, but more importantly, you will notice. You'll start walking differently, speaking with more conviction, because there's no hesitation in a man who keeps his promises to himself. Imagine what your life would look like if you became your own guarantee. If, no matter the day, the weather, or the chaos around you, you still did what needed to be done. What if you were no longer negotiating with your excuses? What if you didn't ask, "Will I do it today?" because you already knew the answer? That kind of certainty isn't a gift. It's a decision. You wouldn't need luck anymore. You'd rely on your process. You wouldn't chase perfect timing. You'd trust your habits. Predictability wouldn't just be something others admire. It would be the core of your identity. You'd stop hoping for consistency and start being consistent. And the beauty of that kind of power? It multiplies. Every day you show up, the next day becomes easier to face. Predictability isn't for the world. It's for you. It's not about being robotic. It's about becoming reliable. The most powerful people in the world aren't those who never fail. They're those who show up despite failure, who keep moving after setbacks, who refuse to break not because they're unbreakable, but because they choose not to be broken. That's what predictability gives you. Unshakable forward motion. When your actions become stronger than your excuses, nothing can stop you. You stop asking the wrong questions. You stop bargaining with your goals. You stop needing outside motivation because you have something better. Integrity. And that integrity becomes a compass, a source of fire, a reason to rise even on the hardest days. Most people are mysteries to themselves. One day they're disciplined, the next they fall apart. Their identity shifts with every wind that blows. But when you decide to be predictable, you stop being a question mark. You become a force, a presence, a man who can be counted on. By others, yes, but most importantly, by himself. That's rare. That's power. So ask yourself right now, am I someone I can count on? Or am I still waiting to feel like it? The world does not wait for those who hesitate. It moves forward with those who move, whether they feel ready or not. And your greatest edge isn't talent. It's that you move anyway, day after day, step after step. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming reliable. It's about making your habits louder than your doubts. It's about waking up knowing that no matter what, you will act. That kind of predictability builds momentum. That momentum builds confidence. And confidence, it builds everything else. Decide now. Will you be a mystery to yourself, only strong when conditions are right? Or will you be a force, steady, deliberate, and unstoppable? Not because you shout, not because you rush, but because you never stop showing up. That's real power, and it's yours to claim every single day. Progress hides in boring, unseen days. It's easy to chase the high moments, the wins, the breakthroughs, the flashes of clarity that feel like momentum. But here's the truth. Most of your progress will happen on the plain days, the days that feel slow, quiet, and forgettable, the days that tempt you to skip, postpone, or delay. But if you learn to show up on those days, you win, because those are the days that actually build your future, even if they don't look like it. People often think greatness is loud, that it comes with fireworks, with applause, with viral moments. But real greatness isn't built in public. It's built in silence. It's formed in the early hours, before the world wakes, in private choices, repeated rituals, and quiet effort that no one celebrates. The most powerful growth happens when no one's watching, and when you're not even sure it's working. Your consistency must outlast your motivation. That's non-negotiable. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel energetic or focused. But if you only move when you feel great, you'll move very little. Progress isn't about emotion, it's about decision. Discipline is what carries you when your feelings fade, and they will fade. The question is, will you still act anyway? Now imagine this. Two people chase a goal. One works when the mood strikes. When inspiration hits, they move fast. But the other, the second one, works even when it's hard, when they're tired, when they're bored, even when they doubt. 10 years pass. One has stories, the other has results. Because showing up when it's hard is what separates the amateurs from the masters. Ask yourself, do you only work when it feels good? Or do you have the strength to keep going when it's dull, quiet, or thankless? Do you wait for inspiration to arrive? Or do you act like it already has? Because that's what greatness requires. Not random surges, but relentless steadiness. You don't need fireworks. You need follow-through. The dull days aren't the enemy. They're the test. They're the training ground, the place where most people quit and where you can separate yourself. They're the practice reps that nobody wants but everybody needs. If you can conquer the days that offer no reward, you become the kind of person who thrives when the stakes are high, because you're ready. The truth is, great lives are not built in highlight reels. They're not built in sprints of motivation or viral victories. They're forged in the unnoticed hours, in repetition, in the doing of what needs to be done over and over, until the work itself shapes you. What seems boring today is preparing you to be unbreakable tomorrow. Everyone loves the peak moments, the promotions, the celebrations, the visible victories. But what makes those moments possible? The early mornings when you rose anyway. The late nights when you chose progress over comfort. The days when you wanted to quit but didn't. That's what forges the inner steel that real success demands. Progress often hides behind boredom, behind doing the same thing with no immediate payoff. But boredom is not failure, it's process. Just like brushing your teeth doesn't change your smile in a day, disciplined habits don't reveal themselves right away. They take time, patience, repetition, and the faith to keep going when it feels like nothing's changing. The ones who last in any field, business, fitness, writing, leadership, are the ones who respect the routine, who see the dull days as a test of character. And they pass that test by showing up again and again. Not with drama, not with complaints, but with a quiet decision I do the work no matter how I feel. So next time the day feels dull, don't curse it. Don't look for escape. Look for the lesson. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Every plain day you endure, every repetition you don't skip, strengthens your foundation. And when the storm comes, when it really matters, you'll stand strong because you've trained in the shadows. In the end, your success won't be built on how you perform when you're motivated. It will be built on how you perform when you're not, when it's boring, when it's invisible, when it's hard. The prize doesn't go to those who start fast. It goes to those who never stop, especially when no one's clapping. Make peace with the plain days. Learn to love the grind, not because it's exciting, but because it's effective. If you can dominate the days no one cares about, you'll own the days that everyone remembers. Because repetition, quiet, invisible, disciplined repetition is what creates mastery. That's how legends are made, one plain day at a time. What you do in private determines what you earn in public. The world loves the highlight, the applause, the final result, the medal, the promotion, the success story. But what the world sees is only the tip of the mountain. What it doesn't see, the hours, the grind, the silence, that's where the real story is written. Behind every strong person is a long trail of invisible effort, the kind that doesn't come with recognition, the kind that no one asks about, but everyone notices in the end. Your future isn't shaped on the stage. It's shaped behind the curtain. It's what you do when no one is clapping that defines who you are. When there's no audience, no praise, just you, your discipline, and your decisions. That's the ground where character is forged. And character always shows itself when the pressure rises. It doesn't scream, it simply shows up prepared. People crave results. They want to be noticed, they want their work to matter. But many want the applause before the preparation. They want shortcuts, fast wins, validation without the work that earns it. But applause means nothing if it's not backed by substance. A hollow victory is just noise. Real achievement is earned in silence and proven in pressure. So ask yourself, what do you do when no one's watching? What do you choose when no one's checking? These questions matter more than any external reward because your true strength is revealed in your private habits. The choices you make alone echo in the results you get in public. You can't fake what you haven't trained, and you can't rise where you haven't built. Think of two people learning a skill. One studies for an hour, then posts about it. They want to look like they're growing. The other trains every day but tells no one, no spotlight, no updates, just quiet effort. A year passes. One has likes, the other has results. One is admired, the other is ready. When pressure hits, only one stands solid. The difference isn't in talent, it's in repetition, in silence, in choosing the hard thing every day without expecting reward. This is the secret that most ignore. Preparation is private. Excellence is not about proving, it's about preparing. And if you're not willing to train when no one claps, you'll never be ready when everyone watches. You must become the type of person who sharpens in the shadows, who works while others sleep, who builds when it's thankless, because that's the version of you that survives failure, outlasts pressure, and performs when it counts. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on the depth of your preparation. That's the truth every high performer knows. Public reward is nothing but a reflection of private effort. You may not see it immediately, but over time, the work adds up. The discipline compounds. The repetitions carve out results so deep, no setback can shake them. The only question is, do you have the patience to keep building when no one is watching? This patience, this commitment to the long game, is rare. Most people quit when the applause stops, when the results don't show up quickly, when the silence gets uncomfortable. But greatness is grown in that silence, in the quiet commitment to keep going when there's nothing but resistance. You grow when it's boring, when it's lonely, when it's hard. The irony is this: when your moment finally comes, it won't feel like a breakthrough. It'll feel like another day of doing what you've already been doing. Because if you've prepared long enough, your success won't surprise you. It won't overwhelm you. It will feel natural. Not because it's easy, but because you're ready. So don't worry if no one sees your effort right now. Don't rush to be noticed. Focus on being solid, consistent, trustworthy to yourself. Show up, do the work, and repeat. Even when it's invisible, especially when it's invisible. Because the habits you form in private are the ones that win under pressure. The crowd will cheer when it sees results, but it's not the crowd that builds you. It's the silent hours, the unrewarded mornings, the unnoticed progress, the decision to try again when it's easier to stop. That's what writes your legacy. Not the moments people remember, but the ones they never see. So build quietly, train faithfully, stay steady, because every moment you spend sharpening in the dark prepares you for your time in the light. And when that time comes, you won't need to rise. You'll simply arrive, strong, ready, proven. This is the truth. There is no shortcut to greatness, no hack for real success. Just patience, discipline, and private work. The kind that demands no praise, the kind that lasts. That's where greatness is built. Are you willing to go there? Because the world may see the result, but you know where it came from, and that's what makes it real. You must outlast the quitter inside you. Inside you live two voices. One tells you to rise, to push, to move forward no matter how heavy the day feels. The other tells you to wait, to pause, to take it easy. One says, keep going. The other whispers, it's not worth it. These voices wrestle every day, not once, but many times a day. And no matter how strong you feel, the winner is always the one you feed. That choice belongs to you. Consistency isn't a fight against time, society, or circumstances. It's a fight against yourself. The lazy self, the fearful self, the version of you that clings to comfort, distraction, and easy escapes. This is the quiet battle most never talk about. You look disciplined from the outside, but inside, it's war. Every day is a chance to choose strength or surrender. You'll feel it often, the pull to quit, to tell yourself, just today, I'll skip. But what starts as one skipped workout, one missed task, one broken routine, quickly becomes a pattern. That break turns into backtracking. And soon, you're not resting, you're retreating. The quitter isn't loud, it's subtle. It sneaks in when you think you're being reasonable. The quitter inside isn't defeated with one bold act. You don't beat it with one motivated Monday. You beat it in the grind, in repetition, in choosing the hard thing again and again, even when no one's watching. That's how the doer inside grows, by proving each day that your will is stronger than your weakness. You don't overpower the quitter, you outlast it. Picture a person running uphill. Their legs are heavy, their breath is short. Everything in them screams to stop, and yet they take another step, and another. They don't move faster, they move forward. And in that quiet, brutal effort, something shifts. The quitter's voice weakens, the doer grows stronger. That's how endurance is built, one hard step at a time. Now ask yourself, who's winning inside you? The builder or the breaker? The one who creates routines or the one who breaks them? The one who honors their word or the one who negotiates with excuses? The answer doesn't lie in your dreams, it lies in your days, in the choices you make when no one sees. You don't need perfection. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to win more than you lose. Win today, win tomorrow. Stack the days. Eventually you'll look back and realize you've become the kind of person who keeps going. And that identity, it sticks. It speaks louder than any voice trying to pull you down. The truth is simple. The quitter inside you doesn't vanish. It fades. And it fades only when the doer keeps showing up, keeps saying yes, keeps moving, even slowly. You train that doer like a muscle. Repetition is everything. You show up on the days you want to quit, and that is what makes you powerful. No one becomes consistent by chance. They build consistency by winning the internal war. Not once, but many times over. They resist the comfort of excuses. They reject the pull of later. They don't wait to feel ready. They act, even when tired, even when unmotivated, especially then, because that's where the real growth happens. Every time you choose discipline over delay, you shift the balance. You make the doer louder and the quitter quieter. It may not feel like much, but it matters. Each small victory rewires your mind, builds your resilience, and teaches you that you are not your impulses. You are the one who decides what wins inside. This is your challenge. Outlast your lower self. Don't try to be superhuman. Just aim to be undeniable. Win the inner war more often than not. Let your habits speak louder than your doubts. And when the voice says it's too hard, respond with action. One step, one rep, one task, one win. So the next time you hear that voice whisper, skip it. Pause. Ask yourself, what do I want to be proud of tonight? What story do I want to write today? Then choose the version of you that builds, not breaks. The one who stays steady, not safe. Because that's how winners are made. Not in one day, but in enough days. In the end, it's not about talent. It's not about motivation. It's about repetition. It's about becoming a person who chooses strength again and again until the weaker voice no longer runs the show. The quitter dies when the doer wins enough days. So win today, then win again tomorrow. Let the wins pile up until there's no room left for doubt. The world gives to those who stay. Many begin with fire. They start strong, inspired, excited, ready to change their lives. The first steps feel powerful, even easy, but strength is not measured at the starting line. It's revealed in the distance. And most people, they quit too soon. They step off the path just before the reward. They walk away from the field 1 week before the harvest. Then they look back with confusion, wondering why life didn't reward their effort. But life isn't unfair. It's honest. It doesn't hand out rewards for potential. It pays those who persist. And more often than not, it tests you before it pays you. It waits, watches, and asks, will you keep going even when nothing is promised, even when no one is watching, even when it hurts, when it's slow, when it's lonely? Because that is when winners are made. Those who win aren't always the most talented. They're not always the fastest learners or the best resourced. They're the ones who simply refused to leave. They stayed when others wandered. They worked when no one clapped. They endured the dry seasons with patience and quiet belief. And because they stayed, they grew. They got the reward, not because they were special, but because they were still there when the reward came. Slow results are not punishment. They're preparation. Every delay is a question life asks. Are you serious? Because anyone can work hard for a week. Anyone can commit for a month. But what about when it takes longer? When it's harder? When the excitement fades and only effort remains? Most people give up. But the ones who don't, those are the ones who become unstoppable. Now picture this. Someone plants a tree. Every day they water it, care for it, believe in it. But weeks go by, then months, still nothing, not a sign. But underground, in silence, something is happening. Roots are forming, anchoring, expanding. Strength is building where eyes can't see. Then one day, a sprout breaks the surface. Eventually, there is shade. Then fruit. Then life that sustains others. This is what consistency looks like. It is not flashy. It is not fast. It is quiet, repetitive faith in motion. You show up not because it's easy, but because you believe in the outcome, even if you can't see it yet. Most people never get to that sprout. They stop watering too soon. They abandon the tree right before it breaks through. And they never know how close they were. So ask yourself honestly, how many things have you walked away from too early? How many goals were just one season away from breakthrough, but you didn't stay long enough to see it? We don't just lose opportunities because of failure. We lose them because of impatience, because we didn't stay through the silent stages. Every dream has a quiet phase, a waiting room, a place where progress is invisible and belief is all you have. That's where most people give up. But that's also where your roots grow. That's where you grow. And if you can stay through that phase, if you can keep watering even when the soil looks barren, you will eventually rise. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not wrong for wondering when it will pay off. But you must understand, breakthrough comes to those who stay long enough to receive it. You may not control how fast the reward comes, but you do control how long you keep showing up. That control, that decision is your power. Success is rarely about brilliance. It's about endurance. It's not who starts fastest, it's who keeps walking. It's who gets up on the 100th try, who stays focused in the face of boredom, frustration, and doubt. The finish line doesn't belong to the most excited. It belongs to the most committed. That's what this journey demands, long-term loyalty to your purpose. So next time you're tempted to quit, remember the tree, the roots, the waiting. Don't walk away just because you don't see instant proof. Most of the real growth is happening where you can't see it. Inside you. You're building patience, discipline, mental resilience, and one day it all breaks through. But only if you don't leave too soon. The world has a strange habit of yielding to those who refuse to stop knocking, to those who keep showing up, keep trying, keep believing, even when the door seems shut, even when the room seems empty. Your breakthrough is not a question of if, but will you last long enough for it to arrive? Don't quit before the miracle. Don't give up one season too early. Your future is forming in the unseen, in the slow days, in the consistent effort. Stay long enough to meet it. Keep watering, keep showing up, One day the harvest will come, and it will come because you didn't walk away. You become untouchable when you stop breaking promises to yourself. You must treat each day like it matters, because it does. Success is not just the result of hard work, it's the result of unbroken discipline. And here's the truth, discipline, like wealth, compounds. One small act of commitment leads to another. One strong decision in the morning carries into the night. But the same is true for laziness. Excuses compound just as fast. The longer you feed them, the harder they are to break. One missed day doesn't cost you a task. It costs you your edge. Picture this. One person trains every day for weeks. They miss a day, they feel the guilt, but they return stronger, sharper. Their break was a pause, not a collapse. But another person also trains, then misses a day. Then another. I'll restart next week, they say, but next week turns into next month. And soon, they aren't the same. Their identity shifts from consistent to inconsistent, not because of lack of potential, but because of small, repeated surrender. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped giving away days? If every morning you woke up and said, this day counts, what would shift? You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. Not for a year, not forever, just today. Because today is where everything begins and everything breaks. The version of you you're trying to build doesn't arrive all at once. He's built in the days others throw away, in the minutes no one else values, in the choices no one applauds. One missed day isn't just lost time, it's a crack in your identity. You told yourself you'd show up and didn't. That break weakens not just your schedule, but your trust. And the most powerful force you can carry is self-trust. So when you slip, seal it immediately. Don't negotiate, don't delay, don't wait until Monday. Begin again even stronger. One act of discipline, right after failure, builds resilience. That's how you stop the unraveling. Because here's the final truth. One break can break everything, but one act of discipline can restart it all. Momentum doesn't require perfection. It requires direction. It requires you to keep showing up even after the misstep. The difference between winners and quitters isn't flawless execution. It's the ability to recover quickly and decisively. So if you fall, stand up. Don't look back. Don't make excuses. Just begin again, right now. Because today counts. When you're tired, train your spirit to obey. Your body will feel tired. Your muscles will ache. Your mind will craft 1,000 excuses. You'll hear whispers like, not today. It can wait. You deserve rest. And sometimes rest is necessary. But more often, it's not your body asking for a break. It's your comfort speaking. In those moments, you must not listen to the body or the noise. You must teach your spirit to lead. The part of you that chooses progress over comfort must take the wheel. Real strength has nothing to do with how powerful you feel. It's about acting powerfully, especially when you feel weak. When your legs are shaking, your lungs burning, your motivation gone, that's when your spirit must rise. Strength is not the absence of struggle. It is action in spite of it. It is deciding to move forward even when every part of you screams to stop. Most people let tiredness rule their decisions. They wait to feel ready, to feel strong, to feel inspired. But strength doesn't work that way. You must decide first, then act, regardless of how you feel. If you only train, write, study, or lead when you're rested and energized, you'll be inconsistent. Greatness comes from the days you don't want to move but move anyway, because that's where power is built. The moment you push through exhaustion is the moment your power grows. You may think fatigue is your limit, but often it's just the beginning. There's a deeper layer of energy you don't access until you've passed through the wall of tiredness. Once you get there, you realize the body will follow if the spirit leads. That's the secret to endurance. It's not physical, it's mental and spiritual. Picture this. A person walks through the door after a long day. Work was draining, their back aches, their mind says, skip it, tomorrow's better. But instead, they train. They write a page. They show up for a loved one, not because they had energy, but because they chose to lead. And slowly, that choice becomes identity. They become someone even fatigue cannot stop. That kind of strength isn't handed to anyone. It's not inherited. It's earned in silence, in solitude, in sweat. It's built in the hours when most people quit, when comfort calls loudest and you answer with discipline, when the body resists but the spirit says, we go. These are the moments no one sees, but they shape everything others admire. Ask yourself, are your feelings stronger than your spirit? Do you let moods dictate movement? If your answer is yes, know this: you're not broken, you're untrained. Your spirit hasn't yet learned to command, but it can. And once it does, you will stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating it through force of will and consistency. You can't wait for energy. You create it. You build it by moving, not by pausing. Each time you act tired and still move, you break the chain of limitation. You say to your body, you don't decide, we do. That's the root of real discipline, not motivation, not inspiration, but ownership. Ownership of yourself, your choices, your identity. There is a version of you that already exists, one that's unshakable, consistent, disciplined beyond current belief. But that version won't appear in comfort. It reveals itself in struggle. When you refuse to let fatigue write your story, when you stop surrendering to the easy way and step into the harder path, not because you feel like it, but because you must. The world will never be easy. Circumstances will never line up perfectly. Life will always test you, stretch you, push you. But you can become someone who doesn't move with the wind, who rises in the storm, who pushes not because it's easy, but because their spirit demands it. That's what makes a person unshakable. When you reach the point where you act regardless of mood, where you train without energy, create without praise, lead without recognition, you become powerful in a way few ever do. You tap into a fire that comfort will never give. And you'll carry that fire through everything. Every room you walk into will feel it. Every challenge you face will fear it. So today, don't ask for comfort. Don't wait for ease. Ask for strength. Practice strength. Move when it's hard. Lead when you're tired. And teach your spirit to lead. Because the world may not get easier, but you can get stronger. Strong enough to carry yourself through the chaos. Strong enough to rise when others fall. Strong enough to become the person you promised yourself you'd be. If you wait until it's easy, you'll wait forever. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It whispers lies like, wait a little longer. You're not ready. Things will be easier soon. But comfort doesn't build anything. It only protects what already exists. Many people never even begin because they're waiting for clarity, waiting for the fear to fade, waiting for the perfect conditions. But time doesn't create courage. Action does. The right time is not a date on the calendar. It's the moment you stop letting your emotions decide your future. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you'll wait your whole life. Progress is only born when you step out before you're comfortable. What you call hard now isn't a wall, it's a gate. And gates don't open just because you hope. They open when you lean in, push, try, even if you don't know what's on the other side. That pressure you feel isn't a signal to stop, it's a signal to start. Resistance means you're close to a new version of yourself, one that only reveals itself through struggle. You will never discover your full capacity while standing still. You have to go through discomfort to find what you're capable of. The obstacle is not the end of the road. It's the test that earns you the next level. Most of life's breakthroughs don't come when everything is easy. They happen in the middle of your doubt, your fear, your uncertainty. That's when the lessons cut deep and stick forever. When you train tired, learn confused, lead afraid, your growth becomes real. It becomes earned. Waiting for comfort robs you of the chance to discover your own strength. Because strength isn't revealed when it's easy, it's built in the middle of pressure. That's where confidence is formed. That's where resilience grows. And that's where most people quit right before it gets real. Now picture someone who only practices when everything aligns, when the sun is shining, the schedule is clear, the mood is perfect. That person will improve, but slowly. Now picture someone else. They train when exhausted. They study while overwhelmed. They keep going, even while confused, afraid, uncertain. Who do you think grows faster? Who will last longer? Who becomes unshakable? The answer is obvious. Growth isn't just about effort, it's about when and how that effort is applied. And when it's applied in difficulty, it multiplies. You must act before you feel ready, because readiness is not a starting point, it's a result. It follows action, not the other way around. You don't gain clarity and then move, you move, and then clarity finds you. Courage comes before certainty, and if you keep waiting to feel sure, you'll miss the very experience that would have made you strong. Every master was once uncertain. Every leader once questioned themselves. The only difference? They moved anyway. They didn't wait for confidence, they built it. Ask yourself, how long have you been waiting? How many times have you told yourself, not now? How many dreams have you delayed under the banner of maybe later? You say you're being patient, but is it patience or fear? Are you waiting for the path to open, or are you avoiding the discomfort of starting blind? Be honest, because the longer you wait, the heavier the dream becomes. It starts to turn into regret, and regret will always weigh more than effort. If you always wait for ease, you will spend your life watching others pass you by. Others with less talent, less experience, fewer resources, but more courage. People who dared to try before they were ready. They didn't need the conditions to be perfect. They needed movement, and in moving, they grew. They stumbled, adjusted, and adapted, and every step forward widened the gap between them and those still waiting. Remember this, the ones who succeed are not those who waited. They are those who went. Do it while it's hard. That's when it counts. That's when it matters most. Anyone can act when the path is smooth. Few act when it's uncertain. But those few, those who start anyway, become unstoppable. They develop grit. They gather momentum. They earn self-respect, not because they knew everything, but because they dared to begin. And once you begin, everything else follows. Strength, wisdom, clarity, progress. But none of it comes before the first step. You must move first. So don't let another week pass. Don't keep rehearsing your dreams in your head while others are living theirs out loud. Don't let comfort rob you of your future. The world doesn't wait. Time doesn't pause. The gate you're facing won't open itself. Push, step, begin, even if you're trembling, especially if you're trembling. That's where your real life starts, not in ease, but in effort. You must become the person who deserves the result. Everyone wants the reward. They want the finish line, the recognition, the wealth, the influence, but few are willing to become the kind of person who earns it. Success isn't something handed to you. It isn't won by accident. It's not luck or timing. It's alignment. You don't stumble into greatness. You grow into it. You build toward it. Real, lasting success doesn't chase the unprepared. It gravitates toward those who have paid the price in silence, those who have done the work before the spotlight. The truth, you don't just receive success. You rise to meet it. You don't magically get discipline, confidence, or strength. You don't wish for them and wake up changed. You're not traits. You're not born with them. They're forged in your habits, earned in repetition. They are built, brick by brick, day after day. You say you want to be strong, then lift when you're weak. You say you want confidence, then speak when you're afraid. You say you want discipline, then move when it's inconvenient. These qualities are not goals. They are byproducts. They appear when you stop waiting and start becoming. You say you want freedom. Freedom to choose your future, to earn more, live more, be more. But do your actions reflect responsibility? Freedom is not the absence of structure. It's the result of structure. You say you want opportunity. You hope to be ready when the moment comes. But do your daily choices reflect preparation? Success doesn't respond to your hopes. It responds to your habits. You can't have a king's reward with a beggar's work ethic. You can't expect a breakthrough if you haven't earned the trust of your own effort. The world will not hand you success. It will test you. It will ask, are you worthy of what you want? It will not be cruel. It will be clear. It will put pressure on you to see if you break. It will delay the reward to see if you quit. You will be tested, not once, but repeatedly. Not because life wants to hold you back, but because it wants to make sure your character can carry the weight of what you're asking for. And most people fail, not from lack of talent, but from lack of growth. Picture this. One person begs for success. They make big declarations, write big goals, post motivational quotes. But the moment life gets uncomfortable, they disappear. They skip. They stall. Another person says nothing. They don't beg. They build. Every day, they show up. Quietly. They train. They write. They study. They don't need to chase the reward, because when the time comes, it finds them. Why? Because they've become the kind of person that success naturally belongs to. They didn't just want it, they earned it. So ask yourself, are you trying to get success, or are you trying to grow into someone who earns it? There's a world of difference. One chases the result, the other becomes the cause. One waits for permission, the other gives themselves a mission. One complains that life isn't fair, the other builds a life so strong that fairness doesn't matter. Don't just want the outcome. Become the reason it happens. Your job is not to wait for results, your job is to train for them. Most people sit still and hope something changes, hope a door opens, hope someone notices. But success doesn't respond to hoping, it responds to habits. And habits are built when no one is clapping. when you keep going without applause. Your consistency must outlive your motivation. Results are earned in the moments when continuing feels like the hardest option, and you choose it anyway. Consistency isn't glamorous, it's not loud, but it's the only way you transform. You don't become extraordinary by doing what's convenient. You do it by showing up when it's not. That's the test. Can you keep going when it's cold, quiet, and hard? Can you lead yourself without being watched? That's where most people quit. But it's also where the great ones begin to separate. It's not luck, it's loyalty to their process. Don't ask, will I succeed? That's not the right question. Ask instead, am I becoming the person who should succeed? Am I becoming reliable? Am I becoming sharp, disciplined, focused, unshakable? Because once you become that person, success is no longer a matter of if, but when. When you do the internal work, the external results catch up. That's how life works, not in chance, but in cause and effect. Become the cause. Your goals mean nothing if you don't match them with growth. You can dream all you want, you can write the vision, you can speak affirmations, but unless your daily actions align with the identity you're chasing, nothing will change. The universe doesn't respond to fantasy, it responds to faith in action. And action is the only thing that builds real momentum. That's how doors open. That's how opportunities find you, because you're ready. So here's the final truth. The gap between who you are and what you want will never close by waiting. It will never close by wishing. It will only close when you start acting like the version of you who deserves it. Stop asking life to reward your potential. Start giving it a reason to reward your preparation. Earn it not just once, but every day. And eventually success will arrive, not as a surprise, but as a reflection of who you've become. What you repeat, you become. Repetition is not just a method for learning, it's a mechanism for becoming. Every act you repeat is a brushstroke on the canvas of your identity. You may think you're simply practicing a skill, but in reality, you're shaping your character. One action done once is just an event. One action done 1,000 times becomes part of who you are. Repetition is powerful not because it's exciting, but because it's transformative. You're not just training your hands or your body. You're training your identity. You train your hands to build, write, lift, or create. You train your mind to focus, to understand, to persist. And you train your character, your inner world, by the decisions you repeat day after day. When you choose discipline repeatedly, it becomes your nature. When you choose delay repeatedly, most people underestimate repetition. They're lured by novelty, they chase variety, they want to feel something new all the time. But mastery is not found in variety, it is born in repetition. In doing one thing not once, not twice, but 100 times, 1,000, until it feels like breathing, until it becomes unconscious. Until you don't just do it, you are it. Excellence lives in repetition. You want to become calm? Don't wait for peace to arrive. Practice patience. Practice silence. Practice breathing through stress. You want to become strong? Don't talk about strength. Train every day. Move your body. Push your limits. Feel the resistance and rise anyway. You want to become wise? Then read. Reflect. Ask questions. Learn daily. These are not mysteries. These are repetitions, and anyone can access them. Imagine this. One person reads a single book about courage. They're moved. They feel inspired. But a few days later, they return to who they were. Why? Because inspiration fades. One exposure is not enough to become. Now picture another person. They read daily. They reflect, underline, apply. They talk about it, write about it, try it, and slowly, courage becomes something they no longer study. It becomes something they live. Not because they read more, but because they repeated more. The secret isn't doing more. It's doing with consistency. One step taken every day will always beat 100 taken once. You don't build your body by lifting once a month. You don't build your focus by meditating twice a year. You don't build a relationship with truth by reading only when you're bored. You build these things through repetition, the quiet, daily choice to return again and again. Ask yourself honestly, what are you repeating today? And do you want to become that? Because you are becoming it, whether you realize it or not. If you repeatedly choose distraction, you become unfocused. If you repeatedly complain, you become bitter. If you repeatedly act with discipline, you become reliable. If you repeatedly speak with kindness, you become someone others trust. Your repetitions are your training, and your training is your transformation. We often think change requires grand gestures, but it doesn't. It requires daily ones, small, often invisible decisions. You don't change by force. You change by forming patterns. And those patterns come from what you repeat most. This is why your habits matter. Not because they look good on a checklist, but because they shape your identity. What you do repeatedly, you start to believe about yourself. Thought is important. Vision is important. But thought without repetition is like a seed never planted. You can think about focus, think about discipline, think about greatness, but unless you act, and act repeatedly, you remain unchanged. Thought leads, action builds, repetition transforms. The final step is where most people fall short. They start, they try, then they stop. They don't repeat enough to see the shift. Repetition requires humility. It's not glamorous. No one cheers for your 100th quiet repetition. But the fruit of repetition is undeniable. The runner who logs miles in the dark wins when the race arrives. The reader who learns daily speaks with wisdom when the test comes. The builder who swings the hammer every morning stands on a solid house, while others are still drawing plans. Repetition may be invisible, but its results never are. Here's the deeper truth. Repetition is always happening. The question is, what kind? Repeatedly skipping? Repeatedly postponing the hard things? Or are you repeatedly rising early, repeatedly facing discomfort, repeatedly telling the truth, even when it's difficult? Whether you're aware or not, your life is shaped by loops. The key is to choose your loops with intention. Greatness is not a moment, it is a habit. And habits are just rehearsed actions, again and again, until they stick, until they become automatic, until they become you. You do not need more goals, you need more reps. More rounds of showing up, more mornings of doing the work, more evenings of resisting the urge to quit. Greatness is found in the man who says, I'll do it again today, even if no one sees. Repetition is not boring, it's sacred. It's how the world changes. It's how a student becomes a scholar, how a warrior becomes a leader, how an average man becomes extraordinary. He chooses one thing, and he repeats it. And in that repetition, he meets resistance, but he keeps going. And eventually that resistance breaks, not him. So if you want to transform your life, stop asking for the new. Start repeating the right. Pick your habits like your future depends on them, because it does. Choose what you want to become. Then live that way daily, not perfectly, but repeatedly. The person you admire, the one with strength, clarity, peace, they weren't born that way. They trained, and you can too. Repeat wisely, because you're becoming whatever you do most. Every habit is a vote. Every repetition is a brick. Every day you show up as a whisper to the world and to yourself, this is who I am. Keep whispering, keep building. Let repetition shape you into someone remarkable, because the truth is simple and eternal. You become what you repeat. Make consistency a law, not a suggestion. Some people treat consistency like a tool. They use it when it's easy, when they're motivated, when the conditions feel right. But when life gets uncomfortable, they drop it, they start over, they wait, they pause until motivation returns. But if you want to build a life that is unshakable, a foundation that doesn't crack under pressure, then consistency cannot be optional. It must become law, something you do not debate, something you do not delay. It becomes who you are, not just what you do when it's convenient. That means there's no negotiation. No, I'll start Monday. No, just this once exception. No room for mood-based decisions. You act not because you feel like it, but because it's required. Your standard is not dependent on the weather, your feelings, or the opinion of others. It is rooted in identity. You don't need motivation when consistency is your law. You need decision. This law gives you freedom, the kind of freedom few ever know. When consistency is your law, the mental tug-of-war disappears. You don't waste energy wondering if you should show up. You don't argue with your alarm clock. You don't bargain with yourself. You already know the answer. Should I train? Yes. Should I write? Yes. Should I show up? Always. Because it's who you are, not a question, a truth. A law that governs your daily life. Picture a builder. They wake up every morning, rain or shine, and lay one brick. Some days the bricks are heavy. Some days the sun burns their back. But still, they show up. One brick, then another. A year later, there's an unbreakable wall. Not built overnight, but with daily, silent consistency. Then picture another builder. They lay bricks only when they feel like it. They start strong, then disappear. A year later, still just dust and plans. Who do you want to be? The one with the unbreakable wall, or the one still dreaming? The one who shows up, or the one who makes promises they don't keep? You won't build anything that lasts if you only work when it's easy. Discipline builds what emotion cannot. Brick by brick, day by day. Not loud, not flashy, just steady. That's how progress happens. That's how success becomes inevitable. Ask yourself, do you live by discipline or by impulse? Are your actions driven by your values or your moods? Do you train when it's cold? Do you create when you're tired? Do you move forward even when your mind offers 100 reasons to stop? These questions matter because over time they shape not just your results, but your identity. Every action is a vote. Every day is a mirror. When consistency is law, you no longer rely on hype. You rely on habit, and habit builds character. It becomes a rhythm, a current, a quiet momentum that grows stronger the more you honor it. You don't need drama. You don't need to feel excited. You only need to act. One task, one decision, one brick, and slowly the world bends to meet the strength of your foundation. Every time you skip without cause, every time you excuse yourself, you're teaching your mind that your word is negotiable. And when your word is weak, your confidence crumbles. But every day you show up, especially when it's hard, you rebuild that trust. You remind yourself, I'm solid, I'm disciplined, I don't flinch. Let others wait for motivation. Let them chase inspiration. You don't need it. You have law. You are governed by principle, not by preference. You don't train to feel good. You train because that's what strong people do. You don't read to look smart. You read because wisdom compounds. You don't act because the world claps. You act because it's your standard. It's easy to chase new tactics, to look for shortcuts, but there is no shortcut for showing up. There is no hack for consistency. It is simple, but not easy. That's why it works, because most people will not do it. They will chase what's shiny. You'll stick with what works. And over time, the gap between you and them will grow so wide, it won't even be close. You will see others start fast and fade. You will see others jump ship when it gets hard. But you keep going. You build the wall. You lay the brick. And you do it not because it's easy, but because it matters. You do it because your future is worth the effort. And you do it because you refuse to be ruled by anything weaker than your own decision. Consistency does not mean perfection. It means returning. It means showing up again. If you fall, you get up. If you miss, you restart. There is no failure in a stumble, only in stopping. Your law doesn't demand flawlessness. It demands faithfulness to your mission, to your goal, to your identity. The strong don't never fall. They rise faster. So decide today, will you build a life of impulse or of intention? Will you keep making excuses or will you make consistency your law? Will you look back a year from now with regret or with results? The choice is yours, not once, but every day. Every morning you rise, every time it's hard, every time your mind says, not today. That's your cue. That's your moment. That's your brick. Make consistency your personal law. No debate, no drama, no delay, just daily work. Calm, quiet, steady. That's how greatness is built. Not in a burst, but in a rhythm. In showing up when it's hard. In honoring your word when no one's watching. In becoming someone the world can't shake. Because you've already decided, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I don't break my law. When you master consistency, you master your life. Everything you want. Freedom, peace, strength, success lives on the other side of consistency. Not talent, not luck, not random bursts of inspiration, but the quiet, unseen discipline of showing up every day. That's the real separator. Anyone can do something once. Anyone can work hard for a day, a week, even a month. But the ones who keep showing up, long after it's exciting, that's where true power is built. That's where dreams are no longer dreams, but outcomes. And the only bridge to those outcomes? Consistency. When you master consistency, you gain control. You don't ride the roller coaster of emotions anymore. You don't wait for the right mood. You build rhythms, routines, habits. You start living by decision, not by impulse. You stop wasting time wondering if you'll act. You already know. This kind of steady, intentional living gives you an edge. You become focused, grounded, and quietly powerful in a world that's easily distracted. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. You don't have to hit a home run every day. You just have to show up to the plate, even on bad days, especially on bad days. Because momentum is not built through perfection, it's built through persistence, through the small, repeatable actions that most people overlook because they don't feel big enough. But in time, they build everything. Tiny steps, repeated consistently, become unstoppable movement. You don't win with grand gestures. You win with small acts repeated over and over until they're second nature. Consistency is quiet. It's often boring, but it's the one thing that turns average effort into extraordinary results. Picture a musician practicing scales for hours, a fighter drilling the same punch day after day, a writer sitting down to write even when nothing flows. These people aren't magical. They're consistent. That's their superpower. Greatness doesn't begin with talent. It begins with discipline, the refusal to stop, the commitment to rhythm. Over time, consistency creates certainty, not because you know the outcome, but because you trust yourself to keep showing up no matter what. That trust becomes confidence, and confidence becomes a foundation that cannot be shaken. Ask yourself, where would your life be if you had just kept going? If you had stuck to the habit, shown up every day for the past year? Where would your body be, your focus, your finances, your relationships? Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year of steady progress. Don't wait to start again. Begin now, and don't stop. You don't need to be extraordinary. You don't need to have special skills or rare gifts. You need to be consistent. The difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is rarely talent. It's the ability to keep going, to return to the practice, to wake up and act even when nothing feels exciting. That's the battle. And once you win that, the rest gets easier. Once you become consistent, everything changes. You begin to trust your own word. You no longer need motivation from the outside. You build your own momentum from the inside. Your schedule becomes a tool, not a burden. Your discipline becomes freedom, not restriction. You start to realize that you are not stuck. You are just inconsistent. And now you move with intention. When you act consistently, you master your time. You stop wasting hours wondering what to do. You know what to do. You've already decided. No more scrambling, no more panic, just daily execution, one block at a time. That control over your time gives you peace, and peace is power because it lets you think, create, and grow without chaos. When you act consistently, you master your thoughts. You don't believe every doubt that floats into your head. You've trained your mind to follow through regardless of fear. You've proven to yourself that hesitation doesn't win. Action wins. Every day you show up, even with resistance, you teach your brain that your purpose is stronger than your emotions. Over time, that becomes a quiet, unstoppable confidence. When you act consistently, you master your outcomes. You start to see results not as surprises, but as returns. You're not shocked when progress shows up. You've earned it. Whether it's in the gym, in your business, in your habits, or your mindset, consistent effort turns invisible work into visible results. You start building things that last because they were forged over time, not in bursts. But most importantly, when you act consistently, you master yourself. That is the real victory. The world is noisy. People will doubt you. Circumstances will test you. But if you've trained yourself to continue regardless of noise or doubt, then you become unshakable. You stop waiting for better conditions. You create them. You stop hoping for discipline. You become it. That kind of self-mastery changes your entire existence. Consistency isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. The disciplined person becomes strong, not just in muscle, but in mind. The consistent learner becomes wise, not just in knowledge, but in judgment. The steady builder becomes successful, not just in money, but in meaning. Every day you repeat the right action, you are casting a vote for the person you want to be. Eventually, that vote becomes your identity. Don't wait for the perfect time to begin. Begin now. Begin messy. Begin tired. Begin uncertain. But begin consistently. The path doesn't reward those who sprint and stop. It rewards those who walk forward daily. You may not feel like you're moving fast, but you are moving true. And over time, truth outruns speed. So today, make a decision. Not a grand one, a small one. One habit. One action, then repeat it tomorrow and the next day. And when it gets hard, repeat it again, because that's where change lives. Not in noise, not in hype, but in rhythm, in the quiet beat of daily action. Over time, that beat becomes your anthem, and that anthem becomes your life. Everything you want is waiting for the person you're becoming. The question is, will you show up enough times to meet it? Will you hold the line long enough to break through? You don't need to rush. You just need to repeat over and over, calmly, steadily, unshakably. Because once you become consistent, everything changes. Consistency isn't a gift, it's a decision, one you make daily. So start now, show up, push forward, and when it gets hard, remember, the future you want is already waiting on the other side of your discipline. Force yourself to be consistent, and you'll force the world to respect your results.